If you're serious about hitting your fitness goals, whatever they may be, there's three things that are going to make it much easier to hit those goals far quicker than most people. And I can say that with a lot of conviction because I've been a personal trainer and a nutritionist for 6 years now. And in that time, I've helped well over 100 guys to achieve their goals. And as always, I'm not going to fluff it out. So let's get straight into it so that you can crack on with your day. The first thing you need to learn about, guys, is momentum. But before we talk about momentum, we need to touch on growth quickly. To tell you what, let's do this. Bear with me 2 seconds. We go over to my magical board here. Let me just rub off this. Okay, cool. So what I can do, guys, is actually show you what I mean. Hopefully you can see this. So if I draw a nice little graph here and we put a P here, you can see this. This is the P stands for progress and the T stands for time. Our brains like to think that growth in anything, by the way, happens on a linear horizon like this, okay? But if you really think about it, this doesn't make sense because when you first start something down here, you're going to suck. So as time goes on, you're not going to get the same amount of progress as you would when you've actually gotten good at the thing. So growth is very, very rarely on a linear curve. What growth really looks like, guys, is exponential. So it looks like this. You're starting, you suck, you're getting a little bit better, but you still suck quite a lot. And then right at the end, wha-boom, like that. I hope you like the sound effects there. The exponential curve. You see, time happens, so you suck. So time is passing, but you're not making that much progress. As more time passes, you start to get a little bit more progress, and then suddenly you're an expert. And then bang, you experience that growth curve. So hopefully that makes sense. Now let's go back to the desk. When you start at something, you're going to suck at it. It's brand new. It's only natural. You have zero momentum. And that is why the first steps that you take are always going to be the biggest and the hardest. And I think most importantly, the ones where you don't necessarily see or feel any benefit or positive change or reinforcement from. However, the more steps that you take, the easier and the smaller that they get. That, guys, is momentum. But the amazing thing about momentum is that momentum gives you progress. And that progress gives you confidence. And that confidence gives you more momentum. It puts you into a virtuous cycle. You start to get positive feedback loops from the healthy habits that you're doing. Your brain starts to reinforce them. So it starts to make rational and logical sense for you to want to do those things more. What's also cool about momentum is that when you slip up, which you will do because you're human and that's normal and that's fine, it's far easier to rebuild those healthy habits because of the momentum that you've got. And that is why change, progress, growth looks like an exponential curve. This is why you hear about so many overnight successes. The reality is they're not overnight successes. They've been working in the background for 1, 5, 10 years, but you've only just heard about them now because they've achieved the shiny object that everybody desires. But their progress, if it had been linear, you would have heard about it along the way, but it never is. They work in the shadows for months, years, decades sometimes. And it's only when they're just about to get to the pinnacle, when they're at the bottom of the exponential growth curve, that everybody hears about them. And then it becomes even easier for them because they have all the positive reinforcement that they need, because they have the public support. I say this sometimes that first you'll be relatable because people are like, yeah, go on, your goals are cool, like I support you. And then you actually start the work and people are like, why are you being so weird? So you become unrelatable. But then right at the end, you become inspirational. But that middle bit where you're unrelatable is a very long, dark, and lonely road. But if you know that, and if you understand the principle of that, and if you can make sense of that now before you're starting, when you're in it, it's going to make a lot more sense. You're going to be like, oh, cool. I'm actually like doing the thing. I'm on the journey. Now all I have to do is just keep going. A really, really good example of this is way back in 2018. So what's that, like 6, 7 years ago? This is my first sort of real attempt at getting like super lean. I lost 45 pounds, about 20, 22 kilos. I've done another video on this, but it was only in the last 3 weeks of that sort of 4-5 month journey when I really started to see my abs pop. And that kind of leads me nicely into the second point. And that is that knowledge is power, because knowledge gives you certainty, and certainty gives you peace of mind and control. Think about it this way, right? If I or anybody else was to teach you the basic principles of fat loss or the basic principles of building muscle, for example. So if you were to understand, you knew what your maintenance calories were, you understood the sort of principle of calorie deficits, and then on the other side, when it comes to building muscle, you understood progressive overload, protein, compound movements, all of that, and resistance training, all that sort of stuff. You've got the principles, you've got the knowledge, you've now got the power. And if you believe what you've been taught, you now have certainty. You actually have a 100% guarantee that what you're doing is going to work. So in that occasion, all you then need is patience. And it's kind of what I meant about linking the first point to the second. I knew, I was 100% certain that what I was doing when I was losing that weight was the right thing. I knew I was following the right principles. I knew I had that knowledge, I had that power, I had that certainty, I had that peace of mind. So all I needed to do was be patient and, as we always hear, trust the process. If you want to think about it in a different context, imagine I gave you a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper there were 10 points, and it was the 10 points of how to make $1 million. You wouldn't care whether it took you 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years. If you had 100% certainty in the knowledge that I had given you, you would have power, you'd have peace of mind, and then all you would need is patience. So the second thing you need to understand and learn, guys, is that knowledge really is power. Once you know what you're doing is going to work, all you need is patience. And that patience becomes a lot easier to maintain because you have the certainty. And that's why with my clients, I never just instruct, I inform, I teach, I educate, I empower, because I'm giving my clients that knowledge. It gives them a lot more self-belief, it gives them a lot more freedom, it gives them a lot more control. And then the third and final thing to learn and understand, guys, is the need for a burning desire. Napoleon Hill talks about this in his famous book, Think and Grow Rich. He says that the only quality that a man needs to succeed at anything is a burning desire. And it's quite funny, I learned this recently, that the phrase burning desire actually comes from a historical occasion when Cortez sailed across the Atlantic from Spain to Mexico. I believe it was in the 1500s, but I'm not a historian, so don't shoot me down if I'm wrong, guys. And he had 600 men on his boats, and the goal was they were going to get to Mexico and they were going to steal all the Aztecs' gold, basically. But he knew with just 600 men that he was going to be extremely outnumbered. So once they landed in Mexico, he ordered his men to burn all of their boats. I'm sure you've heard the story, and that's why the famous phrase, burn the boats, comes from. He knew he was outnumbered, but he also knew that if there was a seed of doubt or an alternative choice, and choice is the important word there, in his men's mind, that they would ultimately buckle and concede defeat. So he lands in Mexico, burns all the boats, he's removed choice from the equation, because now the choice is very straightforward. It's fight and win or die. He gave his men a burning desire because the only alternative was death. If you want to achieve remarkable results, it's going to require remarkable effort. But that remarkable effort doesn't need to feel like work if you've got the right mindset, if you've got the right purpose, if you've got a burning desire. People underestimate this. They brush over the sort of why and they just want to know about the how. But you need to start with why, guys. Why are you doing this? What is the true, real purpose? And then once you've found that out, don't give yourself an alternative. Remove the choice. Make success the only option in your mind. Find a way or make a way. The other thing to say about this, guys, is to have one goal and to give it complete, singular, unrequited focus. Get weird, get obsessed. Remove the choice from your mind that you could even possibly fail, and then all you can do is win. Okay, that's it. Bye.